talk about this. As a real estate agent or anybody in sales, one of the most important things that we do when we want to make a lot of money is we need to actually convert the sales. And I don't understand why nobody really follows on this into the depth that we need to do, which is really about the follow-up process. So I'm Kim Barber with Kim Barber Real Estate Group, Kim Barber Realty, as well as Kim Barber Coaching. And this is something that I have spent years mastering the craft of not only follow-up, but also how to put this in workflow automation. But in order to do that, it means I had to go through lots and lots of years of experience and the good things I did and the bad things I did, and a lot of lessons learned along the way. And I think this might be why a lot of people don't talk about the follow-up process, because at one point it's super, super exciting because we're actually closing deals. And that the other thing is that to get beyond the follow-up, that's just call within 5 minutes, or the first 30 seconds you need to make that phone call a few more times, then what do people tell you? And so there's a lot of agents that are in that top 5% that really have made a tremendous amount of progress in follow-up, but yet statistically we already know that 80% of the people don't use the same agent anymore, but most of them would. So the question is, why does that happen? Why is it that there's a huge gap between people saying that they would use the same agent, but then they don't actually use the same agent? I think a lot of it has to do with the follow-up, and I think we can do better than that. And then I think that also going back to the point that there's like the 5% of the top 5% in the nation, or however you want to say it, that have gotten really good at the follow-up process, yet at the same time, the stats aren't in our favor. They're like, and stats maybe can seem kind of boring, but it's where the money talks. The proof is in the pudding. So I've been battling this conversation or battling this situation for years, and I've mastered and gotten over the hurdle of this low conversion rate. And so I've done that by taking the real life experience that I have and then putting it in automation so that I literally know what to do when I come in every day. I know what to say, even though I know what to say, it's easy for me. I don't have to think about it. Kind of like when I'm recording this video, I have to think about it. I hate scripts. I tend to do really from the heart. But when we're making our follow-up calls and we need to know what to say on day 1 and day 5 and day 700 or day 168, when do we make the calls? When don't we make the calls? And what do we have to say? So I think that part of the reason that people don't talk about it as much is because what do you do after that time frame? And is it something that somebody wants to get down and study it? Maybe not so much, but this is again what I did because I saw all these leads slipping through the cracks, and that cost us a lot of money. So it's like, hey, I'm spending all this money on leads, and you're like, oh, it's only $2 a lead or $3 a lead or $10 a lead. But when we don't follow up with that lead, and there's a compound effect that we don't follow up on any of the leads, that actually just costed you $200 for a batch of leads that's actually buried the good leads now. So, it's really more than the cost of the lead. It's kind of the opportunity cost that we miss if we don't follow up with it. So let me, step back again. So I was I do my prospecting. I like the cherry pick leads, and maybe it's not exactly you, but I like referrals. I like working with my sphere. Well, we still have to follow up with them. When it starts getting to the leads that take longer period of time, it becomes harder to follow up with when they start to pile up and pile up. So I created this workflow automation so that I could keep track of all of these leads. And I'm that's where the fortune is at. And so if you're listening to this, and I hope that you are, the benefit of the follow-up process is because that's where the fortune is at. That's where the real money is at. And when we can master that follow-up process, and even better, if we could master that process, and then we can know exactly what to do over time, and we can keep track of a high volume of leads, that's where your money goes, right? But when we can't do that, what happens is that we live in this low conversion, and we live with a lower return on investment for our leads, which means we have to work harder to convert more sales. And it means that our database is getting flooded, with all of these leads, just so that we can, have 2 sales. And they're well, you get 1 sale out of 100, which means if I want to have 2 sales, I need to have 200 leads. And I'm I don't think that's very good. So if you want to learn how to, master your database and earn extra millions, and you want to, implement processes and strategies that really will accelerate your success with somebody who is more than happy to talk about the follow-up process, which is where the fortune is at, then I want to go ahead and invite you to join me in one of my free live masterclasses where I can show you the exact thing that I am doing, and so that you can put it in place for yourself, or even better, maybe you want us to help put it in place for you. So having this live coaching and training and having these things, open our eyes to what's possible, I think is really, really amazing. And it is what I'm doing for you as an agent, because I know the difficulty that it can be in saying not only like, well, Kim, you mentioned workflow automation, and Kim, you've mentioned all of these words, but like, I don't know how to do it. But I would say that you can do it if you have the right blueprint, if you know what to say and what to do and things like this, then it becomes easier than you think to have the follow-up, to find your fortune. And then what happens is you also start to master your database. So anyway, I invite you to join me in one of my free live master classes, and where I can like unravel the things that make it difficult, and I can, help you move along the path of successful closing, successful follow-up, like I had to do for myself, and so that you can be like, oh, this is the way that it's easier. This is the way that it should be. And then, oh, this is the best in class. That's what I'm going to show you, the best in class way. Because when we can increase the retention of our people, when we can increase our rapport, when we not lose track of leads, when we can make it easier for ourselves, then we actually will close more deals. All right. So again, I invite you to join me in one of my live sessions, one of my events, where I can show you how you can do it for yourself. Just go ahead and click on the links, and I'll see you there.